All right, Slick. So what are we covering today in terms of years? Ooh, excellent. Let's do it. Okay, so in this episode I cover from 1997 to 2016. And the reason it's such a long span is because it was really the prelude or the seed of how I got to 2018, where I started really recording and create the whole Planet Cool thing. But a lot of things happened in 97 to 2016 when I had a daughter, so we had a kid, and that was taking up a lot of time in the early years and later on too, and just doing the whole life thing, working for a living, making money so they could pay the bills. So there was all that happening, but the music side of things was starting to build up in that with the people that I was going to see in those years and the people that I had met, because I met quite a few people in the industry, so I'll fill in on a couple stories on that, which are really cool. And not only that, but just writing and recording again. I was without vocals, of course. I was able to create some songs that ended up later on when I was doing the Planet Cool thing from 2018 and on were classic tunes. I would call them classics because they were becoming old songs for me, almost 20 years old. So there was a lot of those songs that were created in that time frame, such as Hell's Jukebox, Out of the Heavens Roar. A lot of the instrumentals that I did in that time frame were part of that whole situation. So it was a good time for just rediscovering, but also learning a little bit more. I learned how to play the drums in that time frame, and just solidifying to where I wanted to go, which was not playing covers but making music and writing songs, because I felt like, yeah, I'm a songwriter. I should, get better at this and do something. But near the end of, I would say by 2016 and 17, I kind of thought, why don't I just pack it in? Because there was that situation where I thought I would pack it in musically in terms of not doing anything with it except put out on the internet some songs I felt were half decent, put vocals on it if I could find somebody. If not, I'll do it. And I thought, let's just do that, at the end of 2016, I thought maybe that's where I should head to, because everything else I'm thinking as a concept wasn't working out. So that is it. That was that whole section of it. All right, so from 1987 to 2016, lots happened. Deaths, births, a whole lot of stuff. Niece and nephews, and of course my sweet daughter Dora. She was born in 2001. A really unique and special event that happens once in your life, and that was us for Steph and I. So Dora was born in 2001, May 8th, and that was like a really great adventure for us to go on. And musically at that point, I was starting to write again, and I was starting to think about putting things together in terms of songs of my own, because the covers weren't working out. Wasn't finding the right people to do covers. So what happened was I started writing again, and some really good songs from 2000 to 2016 started to happen, as with Hell's Jukebox, Out of Me, Heaven's Roar, and quite a few Triple Eight as my instrumental that I would do. I would do quite a few instrumentals instead of with the vocals, but I'm coming to that. That's where 2017 is, next episode, where the vocal stage came in. So that was probably the turning point and the seed of me deciding that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to start doing my own stuff again, and that the seed was in 2001, and I wrote actually Hell's Jukebox in 2001, trying to get like a Kiss type song and I heard the term somewhere, and I said, that's a great term. We're feeding Hell's Jukebox. So that's how that came about. So Out of Me, yeah, that became a huge classic for me and a huge song for myself, because you can't take the rock out of me, which is the name of this documentary. 2002, 2003, it started coming up with that idea of out of me. You can't take the rock out of me. I thought it was a great line, and I thought I gotta write a song like that. So it went through many variations using an AC/DC, Kiss, and my own style all put in there. And it wasn't until later where I re-recorded it in 2018 or 19. No, 2019. I re-recorded it again in a place where I really thought it was solid. But Out of Me is basically me. It's about my story about rock and roll. And since I was 10, I was hooked on rock and roll, and there it was. And I wrote the song out, and it sounded really good. I thought, and it became a big classic for myself as a fan of Planet Cool music. I said that rocks. So never been disappointed by that song. It's fun to play, like a really good song live to play. So yeah. In that time frame, I was using a program called Cakewalk Pro 8, which I got in like 2000. I got it. I forget how I got it. I think it was somebody gave me a CD, and the CD had the program on it. Really great program going into the digital age and learning to do many tracks and just getting the drums a little bit better. Learned a lot by using that program, and I did a lot of stuff on there. And Guardian Angel was actually written on that too. Guardian Angel, Bitter Hotel. I went through different name variations, Boots of 69, Guardian Angel, Hammerhead Shark, of course, Grizzly earlier on in like the 90s, early 90s was Grizzly. So I went through a lot of name changes, but one of the things that really started to, solidify was it was starting to come together and understand how to write songs. But I wasn't doing much of it because I was so busy, working for a living and just being a parent. It just was always in the background, but I wasn't fully engaged in it until 2017. Something happened in that time frame. But that's another episode. That's the next one. And I'll tell you the story. From 1997 to 2016, we lost a lot of good legends, music legends for me, in my eyes, legends in music. Of course, there was Dio, and then there was Lemmy. Lost both of them. That was a big loss. Lemmy for me, when I found out, that was in December 28th, or 29th. No, it was December 28th. I guess all the fans found out later that night. I was at some event. Wasn't very good, horrible actually. I was in a car heading home, big huge snowstorm, of course, because where I live in Canada, there's a huge snowstorm, and just scrolling through Twitter, and I thought, hey, that's a cool painting of Lemmy. Oh, that's a decent picture of Lemmy playing his bass, and I started going, why are there so many pictures and paintings of Lemmy? I'm going, what's going on here? And I started scrolling down a little bit more, and then it hit me. And I knew he wasn't feeling good, and that they had stopped in November of 2015 from the tour, and I knew he wasn't doing well, and he was being taken care of in LA, and I was like, something's up, and I was right, and lost a big legend there, because remember, Lemmy is God. Long live Lemmy. Learned so much from him. So many things about songwriting, but also bass playing, right? There was two other people that I met that was really cool. That were one huge influence, and I'm talking about Rick Emmett from Triumph. And anybody's a huge Triumph fan out there knows what I'm talking about. I mean, he was the engine, the music engine that made that band really good, along with Gil and Mike, both equally really solid musicians, great drummer Gil, like his drum playing also had a big influence on me. Their whole songwriting approach was really, really important to me, and just the way they wrote the songs and what they wrote about. Meeting Rick was through the Songwriters Association. It was around 2013 that I met him, and I was part of that association because I was songwriting and I wanted to be able to copyright my songs, and they said join this association in Canada. So I did. In one of the general meetings you get to meet the board of directors, which Rick was part of. And meeting Rick Emmett after the board of directors meeting, wow, that was cool. 20 minutes we talked. And what did we talk about? Songwriting, of course, just like with Lemmy. But I got an insight on Rick, with Triumph's music, on how he approached it, and his guitar playing while being able to sing and play guitar at the same time. And he tried to simplify it in the live situation because he couldn't always do what he did on the albums live, and talked about that and talked about the approach and how he made it work, and it was great. I learned a lot from that, and that did translate into what I do now with Planet Cold Music. Yeah, Rick, decent guitar player. Never mind, he's underrated guitar player. Extremely good, but very good songwriter too. So if you're looking for somebody who writes really good songs but positive and inspiring songs, check out Triumph. Triumph is an excellent band for that, and they were really good live. He was a really good live performer too. Yeah, Lemmy, he was a big influence on my bass playing. Actually, he's the reason that I play bass the way I do for Planet Cool Music. But meeting him was even better. That was the coolest thing. Those things where you go, that was a good night. So yeah, so the story goes, they were coming to the Government in Toronto, which is a big, huge bar. This was in 2000, and that was for their tour. I forget what the album was right now, but it was, I think it was We Are Motorhead. I think it was for that one. But here's the thing. I read online that Lemmy loves going to Canada for one reason. Canada Club, the booze. So I said to my friends, I said, we got to go to the LCBO, go buy some booze for Lemmy, and give it to the bus driver. They thought I was insane. So we did it, and we gave it to the bus driver. He says, this is cool. We're going to let Lemmy know. And he says, come to the merchandise booth after the show. And he says, I'll let you in and meet Lemmy and the boys. So we thought, this guy's full of shit. He's not going to do that. So we have the concert and everything. We head back to the, of course, to the merchandise booth. The guy says, right, you guys, he says, stay here. He says, give me a few minutes. He comes back, he says, come with me. We go to the dressing room, and there he is, the mighty Lemmy, and the coolest, down-to-earth person that I met in that industry. I mean, everybody I met, limited of course, that I met in the industry were really, really great, but Lemmy was no exception. The band was great. Phil Campbell was awesome. He was a bit cranky, but that's okay. Sometimes he is. Mickey D, as the drummer for Motorhead, now he plays for the Scorpions. He was just the most nicest guy, and just really down to earth, and really, really good with us as fans. And Lemmy, man, got to talk to him for a few minutes, and we talked about songwriting. Of all things, why not talk about songwriting? I said, you're a really good songwriter, really, really good songwriter, and he writes great heavy rock songs, but also bass playing. Holy shit, he can play bass. And I told him that. I said, my bass playing is because of you. So it was great. It was like maybe 10 minutes that we were talking, or less, and it was great. Had a good time. It's a night you won't forget, of course. I won't forget it. And it's one of those things where you have those nights where you go, that's something I'll never forget, and I'm going to tell that story. There it is. I told the story. And of course, there are bands that ended their careers in that time frame. Of course, there was Rush. Big, huge influence on me. I learned a lot about music and songwriting by the guys in Rush. Yeah, you can't go wrong with learning everything you can from, of course, Neil Peart for the drums. And speaking of drums, he was a huge influence on how I approach the drums and how I see the drums. And that last show, that R40 tour, was brilliant the way they did it. Like, go from their very last album to the album they started with, which was just Rush with, Working Man. It was just great. I was there with my wife Steph, and it was like, oh man, this is it, and it felt weird. I saw them in Toronto. I didn't see them in LA, but I saw them in Toronto, and it did feel weird. It was like, oh, that's it for Rush, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, so number 2, the person that I had met in that time frame, and that would be Gord Downie from the Tragically Hip. So in 1999, I was working at CBC, and Mike Downie, who is Gord Downie's brother, worked at CBC, was doing videos for his brother as a side thing, and he wanted me to. He met me through a friend, John Fraser, and he says, I think this guy could do storyboards for you. So we talked, and I actually did the song Bob Cajun from the Tragically Hip. This is a true story, no question. I did the storyboards for that video. And of course, the way that worked out is that I went to meet Gord Downie at his house with his brother. And yes, Gord Downie made me dinner. Isn't that cool? He stir fry. I remember chicken stir fry. Now, here was the coolest part. I'm doing these storyboards for this video that they're doing, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm saying, you've got a guy who's actually in the industry, and he actually writes songs, and he's really good at writing songs. Why don't you ask him some questions about how songwriting works and how they record and how they make it happen? I did. 3 hours later, doing storyboards and just talking about life, I got to learn a lot about how Gord and the Hip did their music, and I wasn't a Hip fan. I'll be honest. I did like some of their stuff, but I didn't get it at that time. But when they did their final tour, and there was the big CBC broadcast from them in Kingston as their final show, that's when I got it. It's you say, yeah, I get it now, and I got how it worked with their music and how good it was. So yeah, I did get it. And meeting Gord Downie, again, there are moments in your life you're going, that was a good night. That was a good night. It was a cold night, but it was a good night. I think it was like in February too. It was really freaking cold, but it was a good night, and learned a lot from him, and it's something I'll never forget. And unfortunately, yeah, he passed away. I think it was in 2017 he passed away, and that was unfortunate. Huge loss to Canadian music. But yeah, that was a good night. Talking to him about the stuff that we both love, yeah, why not? So he was a big REM fan, by the way, which is what I hear sometimes. I hear that influence in there. Cool band, cool guys, couldn't go wrong. Yeah, probably one of the biggest losses from 1997 to 2016, of course, was my dad. And for people who never had an experience with somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia, you probably won't understand it until you face that, and you face that as a person, as a bystander. So yeah, my dad around 97, we knew something was up, and my dad, was somewhat officially diagnosed by 1999, 2000, I believe. But we did see it. We did see that there's the effects of Alzheimer's and dementia, not remembering things. Probably the most horrible thing that can ever happen to somebody, because basically you're taking away their memory, which I can't even conceive of. But my dad, went into a home, and by 2005, sorry. I think it was in that time frame. But what it came down to was he he was there because my mom couldn't deal with that anymore. He couldn't really take care of him the way he could be at a nursing home. But you could see the how he was degraded, and seeing somebody like your dad going through that, probably, tough to watch somebody lose their memory and not remember things. But funny enough, they remember things from 40 years ago, but they don't know who you are. And that's exactly what happens at one point, is they don't know who you are anymore. So really, really tough. And of course, eventually, my dad passed away in 2015, in end of January of 2015. What a way to start a year, eh? Yeah, we miss him. I miss him. And why? Well, my dad. Okay, so yes, I miss him. But what my dad gave me and was able to achieve for me was he saved me by working to pay for me getting the direction on how to work with my learning disabilities. He was the whole reason for that. He got me into a place called Vanguard School in Quebec because I was I had learning disabilities and I wasn't ready to go to public school yet, and they thought, let's go to and it was a brand new school, brand new idea. My dad got me in there and paid for that, and that saved me, and that got me to where I am and what I'm able to do in my life. So I owe a lot to both my mom and my dad, but of course my dad, yeah, we miss him big time. Yeah, he's a huge loss, and miss him big time. But he was a big reason to why I have the work ethic, the way I do things, the way I make things, the way I think about things. I owe it all to my dad. So anybody who is close to their dad or has had a family member that's had Alzheimer's and dementia, I feel for you. I know what that's like. It is not a pretty thing to go through. So you have my support, and I understand. I understand it, and that was tough. Yeah, we miss you. But I know you. And here's the thing: we know you're listening, and we know you're there, and I know you're there because I feel it a lot in my intuition that he's there sometimes. But I will say, my dad did not like my music. He didn't like the kind of music I was playing. My dad came from old school, and he wasn't into this rock and roll and metal stuff. Didn't get it. But he did see that I was persistent on learning this and learning music. So, yeah, he was a bystander of a supporter for the music part. He did support that. He thought that was interesting that I was so into that. He just didn't get it because nobody in his family ever played music, and neither did my mom's family. So the fact that I was the one in our family that does this, it was pretty amazing. But whether he liked my music or not, and it doesn't matter. He was still a hero and still a huge impact in my life. So that never goes away. So. He didn't like my music. That's funny, actually. But maybe he likes it now. Maybe he gets it. I don't know. From wherever you are. I hope you like what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah. Planet Music rocks, right, Dad? All right. So, thinking behind me, the drums. Okay. So, on my 40th birthday, which would have been 2007. On my 40th birthday, I decided that I really wanted to play drums and get a drum set, just like this one. And I did get a drum set. I think the first thing, that was an acoustic set that I wanted. But before that, maybe 4 years before that, at 36, I got an electronic drum set to start learning how to play drums. Since I was like 6 to 10 years old, I wanted to play drums. I wanted to learn how to play drums. I wanted to know what they were about, because that was the thing that got me. It made noise. How could you not want to play drums? It makes a lot of noise, and you can really get aggression out. So at 36, I decided to learn through books and YouTube and just really understand, and it worked. It was starting to come together. So I bought a set, not this one, but the red set that you see in the background there. I bought that, and it was my adventure of learning how to play drums and recording drums for the songs that I was doing. So that was awesome, and it took a while to get there. But you know, I got there, and I do the drums for my stuff, and of course this set here that I got from Rob Gavitz. And if you remember, Rob Gavitz was a big, you know, he's a character, definitely a character, fun guy, really great guy, and a really important part of my adventure and my journey for music, because I met him in '88. As you remember, go to a few previous episodes, you'll hear the story about that. And sold me the drum kit that he had, and his Yamaha set, and I loved it. It's such a great set, and really appreciate that. Another big supporter of what I do too. I can't say enough about Rob being a big supporter, and one of the people. He's the other person that wrote or helped me write "Give Me Rock, Give Me Down." He had something to do with it, right, Rob? Yeah, and playing drums. That was one of the final frontiers for me. There was one other thing, but that doesn't come till the next episode, and I'll get to that. But drums was one of the other things on my checklist to be able to do and be able to accomplish, and I did it. A lot of practicing and a lot of figuring out, but if you stick with it, you'll be able to do it. That's the thing. Yeah.
Hello, Papa.
Well, hello, Dora.
And you're gonna set me up?
Well, hello. Look at that fancy. You can do that in front of the video. I don't care.
Yeah, but it's your... Hello. Okay, what do I need to do?
You don't need to do anything. Just
Okay.
relax.
Hello.
This is Dora. Guess who this is? This is my daughter, Dora.
Okay. What do I need to say?
You don't need to say anything, but what I can say is that in May of 2001, May 8th, this is what came into my life, and I'm really happy she came into my life. But what was your earliest memory of your dad playing music? Because I know you had an early memory of it.
I think the earliest memory is when we were at the Kipling house in the apartment. You had a drum kit in your bedroom, and there was another bedroom, and you used to go and play on your electric drum kit.
That's right.
And everything, and make sure he could make all the songs and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
It
what
was
I
one of my
started with.
earliest memories.
Oh,
that
cool.
I have of you, at least with music.
Okay, and what about in the car? What's the songs that you can remember that I played in the car?
You played lots of AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Kiss. What else?
Of course.
Those are the other ones. That
Ted Nugent, Cat
Yeah.
Scratch Fever. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
Okay, here's the thing. So I do mention this in a couple of the other episodes. I do mention that Dora is one of the reasons I was able to expand in knowing what other styles of music was out there, especially with rap and hip hop. Dora would play that in the car for me, and I'm going, oh my God, that's a really great idea. So Dora has really been instrumental in giving me those other styles so that I can incorporate it into Planet Cool music. So this is the reason I know a lot about the other styles of music now, because Dora, some of the ones that you played for me were like really good, like
My favorite was Kendrick Lamar.
That's-
Free,
yeah.
His whole album, Damn. And we went on a long car ride one night, and we needed music, and that was perfect amount of time, and we listened to the whole thing from start to finish. And I just remember you saying, "Wow, this is really good," the whole time, because it was just It is a great album. And then Draco the Ruler was a big one.
Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish.
And then there was the other one. Who was the other
Lil
girl?
Peep, and then there was
Who was the other one?
Halsey was a while.
That's it.
And
You played that
everything.
for me, and I'm going, wow, that's
Yeah.
really good. And they were they were really in their...
Everyone is in their prime. When I started listening to them, they weren't they were big, but they weren't like that big yet.
That's
so
right.
It was really interesting to have you interpret a lot of things. Well, I mean, like Kendrick Lamar and Draco, they had big fan followings for a long time, but just some of the younger ones, you know, I had a lot of people who were not there yet fully in their careers, and now seeing them now, they're in their big careers and everything.
Also,
Ariana Grande, since day one.
That's right. What about Gomez? Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
That's right.
Still listen to all of her music.
Who did you go see that you went with Mom and that you were?
Demi Lovato.
That's it.
On her Neon Lights tour.
And you were really blown away by her, and she was really good too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was absolutely amazing in concert.
Yeah.
It was a great memory to have, and I haven't been to too many concerts, but
that's okay.
The few that I've been to have been memorable in the least.
And everything that Dora's ever played for me has kind of creeped into the, maybe not outright, but in there somewhere, some of the stuff that Dora's played for me has actually really influenced me. So she's a big part of that. And of course she's a big part of my life. Of course, blah, 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 blah. You know, like it's right here. This is my daughter, right? Planet Cool music. What's the first thing you think? What's the first thing you think of when you hear Planet Cool music?
I think of my dad being in the basement.
Right here?
Hearing little noises through the little heat grates through the thing, hearing it throughout the house, and going, "Oh, Dad's in the basement, making music again." You know, he's
especially with the drums,
on
right?
The drums.
There
He's
you
playing
go.
on the guitar. Also, you being in the basement with your headphones on. So when I would come down and ask you something, Dora.
Getting
scared out of me and everything.
I know. It's all right. It was. But yeah, I'd be so into it, and then Dora would be knocking on the door, and there she is in the doorway. It's like, it's like, what the hell's what? Anyways, it's all good stuff. So yeah, no, it's good. And Dora's actually here in person. We thought we'd be doing this through FaceTime or some other way, and right here, in person. I like that. I love that. My daughter. So this is it. This is the famous Dora, and. Also, wait a minute.
Oh yes.
If you look on the website, in the contact section, you will see this. Dora is the reason that this was created. And this is a little character. Oh, but more importantly, one of the big things about Planet Cool Music and Planet Cool is Slick, the cartoon character.
Slick.
Dora is actually the one that gave the name to the character, because I was trying to come up with the character's name. Dora was the one who came up with Slick. Do you remember why you called it Slick?
God, no. It's so
nope.
long ago now.
It just came out, right?
Like I think so. I
okay.
think I was just saying, oh, he's like a little slick little guy or whatever.
Something like that.
I'm always like that with everything. So.
And that stuck. And I said, okay, Slick it is. And Slick is the character that came about. And he's still, he's on the t-shirts in the background there, and he's everywhere. So Dora's the reason he has a name, and it is Slick. So that was cool. I remember that. And yes, the painting. This is the actual original painting, which was digitized and put on the website. So
it's one of my favorites, and I want it back at some point. But you love it so. No, I'm not going to take it. No, it's original stuff, and you need it, and you've had it for everything. So I think you deserve to have it. But it's one of my favorites that I've ever.
Oh, it's great.
So.
When Dora did this, I'm going, oh. What a character! That was so cool. Like that was a really cool painting of this character, and I thought that should be on the site somewhere. So, if you go scroll down to the main page, homepage, you go all the way down, you see this character in the contact me. So
he was a manifestation of how he was feeling at the time. So,
but a really
it's one of those things. Like I don't know, you have your feelings that you embrace in music, and I did it through art and. When you saw that and you thought it was so amazing that you needed to show it, it just seems like, oh yeah, you understand, so you need to have
Of course.
That.
So this is cool. Thank you. And
is there any more questions?
I think that's it. I think you've pretty much covered it in the memories that you had, and I guess you've always known your dad was a musical person.
Every day.
I think like early on, right? Like very early on. When you're like 2 years old, since day one when Dora was born, music was always there. it was always there, but only when Doris started to really get there's something about this music thing because
well,
he
you've
keeps
always had it as your special
especially in the
interest and
car.
everything, and you've always, you know,
Yeah.
played mimic drums while we're driving and all of that stuff, and it's always just been a thing, who you
Yeah.
are, and I thought it was really amazing that you found something that inspired you and made you feel happy, and that's something that I can't always find in life, and so seeing that my dad has held on to something for, what is it now, 40 years?
Well, it's going to
or
be
something?
40 years in 2023 when I started to learn how to play music, but I was 10 years old when I said, whatever this is, I'm doing this for the rest of
But
my
that's
life. That was my
something
first
that
kiss
a lot
album.
of people can say that they can do, and
No, not everyone.
it's always been something very aspiring to see that you've picked something and it's stuck with you. You've stuck to it for years and years and years, and you've only gotten better
Yeah.
and more confident with your sound and who you are, and you've recently put lyrics into everything. That wasn't always something you were confident in doing, and
No.
I always pushed you
No.
and said, listen, you don't, it doesn't matter if you have a great voice or whatever, making music is making music,
Mm-hmm.
and it can just be whatever you want it to be.
Exactly. Yeah, Doris had a lot of really good ideas, and a lot of Doris' ideas, including Slick, the name of the cartoon character. She's had a lot of good ideas, which I've been slowly incorporating. So if you ever wonder who comes up with a lot of the ideas, it's both Dora and Steph who come up with the ideas. They say, "Oh,
Good
you should do."
influences.
Yeah, good. Exactly, really great influences. So I love that you're here, and I love you're actually in Boiler Room Studio. So this is even cooler. And there's a lot more music to come. It's just the beginning. So there you go. That's cool. Thank you. My daughter.
You're gonna edit all of this and everything? And
Some of it. Outtakes.
Studios.
Bloopers. That's what you get at Dollarama. Little lights like this. And it's good, but it works.